Hello, my project managers. How you doing today? It's your buddy Phil here, project management training coach. It's been a while. I've been on the road, so it's been quite a few weeks since we did one of our touch points. I think the last time we saw each other, we had done a
Hello, my
Saturday
project
boot
managers.
camp. We had done a Saturday quick 1 hour touch point type thing where lots of you came on and I gave you a quick run through of how to get back on track. Well, I'm wondering how many of you have been good? How many of you have taken what I gave you and put it to practice? You know, the little things I told you to do. I'm wondering if you've been doing them. I asked you to do several things. Listening to your buddy Phil is definitely one of them. And I'm talking about the audio digest. Some of you own the audio digest, so I hope you're using it. It's very easy to give excuses for not doing what I ask you to do. But I really hope seriously that you're doing all these things I'm asking. So I want to start off by answering any questions that you might have as you have been trying to study. Do you have questions about the PMBOK guide? Do you have questions about the exam process that I can answer for you? If I can, I would love to do that. So why don't you chat in any questions you might have? I'm assuming you might have some questions. But if you don't have any questions, I'll just share with you a couple of success stories and I'll be on my merry way. So, do you have any questions about the PMP exam or about the PMBOK guide? Because I would love to answer those for you right now. Questions, comments, concerns. Or, I can serve as your shrink. I always tell you that. You might think I'm joking, but some people are frustrated about this process. I like hearing such people out. So go for it. You got any questions or concerns? Well, if you don't have any, I'll share with you a success story from one of our bosses, Corina. And I've been talking to you about Corina for a few days. If you've been on the channel, you might have heard me mention her name a few times. Well, Corina is a PMP boss who found our videos on YouTube and decided to take action on what I typically tell people, which is jump on the bandwagon, join us, let's do this thing together, let's execute this plan and get the exam done. Get on the systems, watch the videos, do the exams, etc. Well, she actually signed up for 3 of the curricula on Praizion.com. She did the 14 days, the PMP exam fitness. She did the 16-hour PMP exam power review, and she did the tools and techniques turbo. And by the time she was done with all of that, she was finding her mock exams that she had taken were getting better and better after going through those 3 curricula. And I'm not even talking about Praizion mocks, I'm talking about other mocks. So by the time she started taking other mocks, she found her scores improving. And I actually need to go in and, Corina, if you're listening, I'm curious to know what you got in our mocks. I'm probably going to have to sift through our data just to find out. But she started doing a lot better, on the mocks. And before you knew it, boom, she had gone in and aced the exam, and that's how to do it. Taking action on what you're told is the next step. First step is me doing my part. The next step is you doing your part. I've put all those systems out there, tons and tons of hours of video I've put out there. The question is, are you going to sign up and use them? My team and I have put out tons of questions in 3 solid mock exams and many other quizzes on the learning management system. Those of you signed up for the course, my question to you is, have you really exhausted all of those quizzes or not? You have to in order to succeed, okay? I implore you. It'll amaze you right here in the studio with me. I have a student that is vehemently shaking her head and saying, I'm not going to take can you imagine that? I'm not going to take the mock exams. When it comes to that, I've done my bit. And this student is trying to deny. I know that's what it was. I know you were saying I don't want to take the mock exams. How dare you tell me to take the mock exams? Well, I've done my bit. I've done my bit. So yeah, if you like, don't take the mock exams. Fly into the real exam. Fly by the seat of one's pants. You know, I've done my bit. But let's get into what Corina actually has for us here tonight. So Corina sent me some really impressive data flows. You can take a look at these data flows. These data flows are very, very customized to her. Obviously, this is someone who has sat down, zoned in, you see, zoned into the PMP guide and tried to put the 5 process groups together. It is very, very impressive, very, very remarkable what she has done here, because it shows me this is not someone just going to buy a bunch of data flows. This is someone putting together data flows that speak to her. My question to you is, are you putting together data flows, flashcards, and content that speak to you? If you're not doing that, you might want to take a clue from her. And another student of mine, Steve Shaw, out of Virginia, he did a very similar thing. He took all of the different processes on page 25. He got this big old butcher paper, rolled the whole thing out, put it on his dining table, and drew out painstakingly every output going from one place to the other. That's how you got to do it, folks. You got to be obsessed with this stuff. Take a look at another one here. If you look at the details, she's actually taken those processes and she's showing how one process gets an output that goes to another. If you look carefully enough, you can see this arrow going from conduct procurements to control procurements. You can see implement risk responses there. You can see monitor risks. You can see this whole data flow is talking to her in ways that one off the shelf would not, because she put this together and now she's a boss. You see? So my question to you is, are you going the extra mile to create these data flows, to think out of the box for yourself, to do what will suit your learning style best? Some people are not doing what suits their learning style. You need to, if you're a visual person, don't waste time with stuff that is not going to work for you. Begin to create little bits of information in ways you can relate to best. Other folks may say, oh, I can't use that. But for you, it might be just precious. You know, like for me back in the day, I had one of these old Blackberries. Who even uses Blackberries anymore? It shows you how long ago I got certified. But anyway, I would get this Blackberry of mine, company Blackberry, and I would send myself different snippets from the PMP guide. And when it came down to the wire, you know, as I was studying, I'll take out my little Blackberry, and all I'll do is read all these different emails that I had sent to myself, like ahead of time for my final study. And I also had a notepad where I would take down notes specific to my learning. You see, you got to get personal with it, folks. You got to get a war room. You got to get a notepad. If you got one of Mr. Cook's devices, you need to take notes and make drawings on your device. Seriously, these are things you should be doing. So when I took a look at these data flows, take a look at this one. It's so dense, content rich, full of information that the author can use to better herself. I mean, just look at that. This is hours and hours and hours of continuous work. This isn't the kind of data flow you can make and leave it alone for eons and come back to it. You'd have forgotten what you were doing. So this shows me that she was consistently hitting this stuff and creating this valuable tool for herself. What are you doing for yourself? Are you creating some new tools? Are you creating some new data flows? You know, one of my students said, Phil, I appreciate this Excel tool you've given me, but I want to make my own. because I know in making my own, I'm going to learn something that yours won't teach me. I said, go for it. Such people are those who ace the test. Okay, so I hope these, impress you. Here's another one on just tools and techniques. Just tools and techniques. How do you feel looking at this? You might feel, my goodness, I can't even read it, but that's the thing. The person who wrote it, who put it together, she's now a PMP. She obviously did many things right, many things right. Some people, I hate to tell you this, but a lot of people are in denial. How are they in denial? They don't want to be honest that their course did not work, that their course was taxing and ended up sucking all their energy and funds, and yet they came away with nothing. But they keep on trying to pound out the system. Don't do that. Leave what is ugly while you still have a chance. If you're in some good for nothing, forsaken LMS somewhere that is not working for you, you need to be in my training. You need to be in my boot camp. I've got a weekend boot camp. What are you doing on Saturdays? You need to be in it. You need to be in it. Instead of your company giving large sums of money to some shadowy company somewhere. I'm telling you, it's as real as it gets. I'm really being honest with you. Go sign up for my training. It will help you. The same way Corina knew I need to get on some systems that work in addition to this. You got that feeling of discomfort. A lot of you are ignoring it. I keep telling you, I'm the voice of reason, like this funny student of mine that said, I'm not going to take the exams. I know she was just messing around, but some people are like that for real. I'm not going to listen to that Phil. I'm not going to take his mock exam. Who does he think he is? Trying to make me do what I don't want to do. Trying to make me spend my money when I don't want to spend. I feel sorry for you. You better listen to your buddy, Phil. Seriously. Take a look at my resume. Take a look at the folks I've trained. The precious men and women in uniform. Before they get your buddy, Phil, to train them, they've seen something sensible in his head. They've found some sort of credibility. That's why I keep it real. A lot of people don't. A lot of people sugarcoat it, but I tell it to you like it is. I don't want you to go elsewhere. I don't want you to spend your money elsewhere because I cannot vouch for those sources. But I can vouch for what I have to give you, which is everything I got. See, I'm showing up here to answer questions for free. An open platform. See? Open platform. Anyway, by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to a few of my friends from the Savage on Saturday group, which have not been entirely savage, but I'm still going to give a shout out to some of them. Oh dear. Let me give a shout out to some of our Savage on Saturday friends. First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Chris Clark because like a boss, he showed up and he delivered the goods last week. He joined me on a live call and motivated and encouraged a lot of people. And I also want to give a shout out to Dustin as well, who has done one of the longest lessons learned ever in the history of the PMP exam on this channel. For giving, I think he did about 3 hours solid lessons learned. And Dustin is going to be joining us to do some additional stuff in the future. That's how you boss up and do it. I also want to give a shout out to 3 of my ferocious question writers from the group who have been causing a lot of trouble. They don't know they have, but they have. VJ, you're one of the people causing trouble with the questions you wrote. So well done. Magda, you're just as guilty. Thank you very much for the questions you sent us, which are now causing a lot of trouble for some students getting ready for the exam. Good trouble. We want good trouble. And I also want to give a shout out to Heather. You're also one of those responsible, because a lot of people have been trying the exams that you guys put together and are not meeting the mark. And, the cool thing about it, I made it a blind quiz, which means they don't know what the answers are, just like the PMP exam. And it shows me that no matter how many times you take the PMP exam, because you don't know the answers, it could be very, very difficult. That's why you have people taking it once, twice, three times, four times, and still not being able to crack it because the PMI doesn't share the answers to the question. So even if you go back and read it, if you are not able to apply the concept, it's not get the knowledge, it's apply the knowledge. That's what makes the exam hard. So those three folks, they did an awesome job. It's just a 50-question test, but it gives you a good run for your money. It's there on our learning system somewhere. So VJ, Magda, and Heather, thank you very much. And all my other bosses who have delivered. Mauricio, you showed up and gave a pep talk last week. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for that. And today we had some new members in the Savage on Saturday group. You might be wondering how you get to Savage on Saturday. You go to savageonsaturday.com. And if you go to savageonsaturday.com, you will be able to join the group. That's how you do it. All right. So I hope this has been of help. Oh, I see some of our friends have typed in some chats. I don't have my glasses here. Please excuse my squinty face. It's Netsricht. Netsricht, thank you for chatting in. What textbooks would you recommend for the PMP? So the PMP exam has one book at the very, very core. And that book at the very core is none other than the PMBOK Guide. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. I was in a forum on LinkedIn, all right? And we were going back and forth talking about the PMP exam and how a large percentage of the exam is from the PMBOK Guide. So I said, yeah, I believe about 90 to 95% of the PMP exam is from the PMBOK Guide. And all of a sudden, some project manager from somewhere just appeared in the thread and said, I used to write questions on the PMP exam. 100% of the PMP exam questions are traceable back to the PMBOK Guide. I couldn't believe it when he told me. I'd never heard that before. You know, the word on the street is, oh, the PMI can come out of anywhere, any book outside of the PMBOK Guide. But he told me it's all traceable. For example, you get organizational theory. It's not in detail in the PMBOK Guide, but it's traceable back to it. You see what I'm saying? NPV, IRR, BCR, ROI. They are not directly explained in detail, but they're mentioned in bullets. You see, so that's pretty much what he was saying. Any question you find on the exam is traceable. And that was some years ago. But I really believe what he said held some truth, because if you listen to the mumblings on social media regarding this exam, you realize that most people have bought into the fact that the PMBOK Guide glossary is a big part of the exam. And without the glossary, without you understanding all the terms in the glossary, you're in trouble. And that's why I do this series every now and again, PM Talking Jazz. I'm only trying to get people to listen and look at the glossary a lot more. So the number one book, NetScript, will be, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, would be the PMBOK Guide, number one. Number two, it would be the book that comes with PMP Exam Prep Camp 2018. So on this course on the Praizion website, we've got a book here called Project Management Essentials. This is the next source that I would recommend. I've had so many people read this book and say, thank goodness I read it. It opened up my eyes. It helped me understand the PMBOK Guide better. A lot of people like the templates and tools that come with it. But you see, the thing about this book, we have a pact with the PMI. We're not allowed to give this book to just anyone. It's that secret. Jokes apart, we do have an agreement, and we don't just give this book to just anyone. This book is only for people who are signed up to our PMP exam prep camp, but the book really kicks you into shape on the exam. So that's the second one I would recommend. The third one I would recommend, going back here, is an ebook. So if you go down to the bottom of the Praizion.com page, this one, I kind of demoed it a couple of days ago. It's called the PMP Exam Fix. And it's a very visual book. And it helps people who are getting ready for the exam to visualize the tools and the techniques of project management. In fact, if you took a look at the icons that we use once, it would be hard for you to forget those icons because they would remind you of the tools and techniques. So it's almost more like a memory game kind of book. And I would recommend this for people who struggle a little bit in their recall of ITTOs. I'm going to give you a little insight into how it works. So here is a typical process from the PMP guide, manage project knowledge. So let's take a look at manage project knowledge as a process, and I'll show you how this book works. Manage project knowledge, know the definition. What is it all about? It's all about getting knowledge to people that need it, ensuring that knowledge is used, capturing tacit and explicit knowledge. Now, if you begin to think about the tools and techniques, these icons help you remember them. So, lady with glasses, she looks smart. Expert, expert judgment. A brain with gears. Knowledge, knowledge management. Library, books stacked up. You see, it's ridiculous because since I've looked at this, I can imagine the icons for each process, and I know what's coming next, you see? So even before I hit the button, I knew that information management was coming next. And this, interpersonal and team skills, I've got all the icons hardwired in my head. It helps me remember the tools and techniques. And there they are listed, you see, expert judgment, knowledge management, information management, and interpersonal and team skills. Even before I brought up the list, I knew what they were. So this will train you. The more you look at the icons, it will train you into good habits of remembrance. And the major outputs, I also put the major outputs in the ebook. So this one is the lessons learned register. And that's pretty much how the book is. There are 49 images that show you the top of the waves as far as the outputs and all of the tools and techniques are concerned. So this is another one that I would recommend for the exam. Okay. So great question. Thank you for asking the question. And I hope this gives you some ideas. Ideally, you would come on our course, even if it's for a week, come on the course for a week, get the book. It's a PDF version. We'll give you the book, read the book, go through all of the different visuals in the book. And then this other ebook, grab it, you see? So those are the 3 books that I would recommend for the PMP exam. I know there are many options out there, but honestly, I've seen what works for our students. And that is exactly what I'm recommending to you, the stuff that works. All right, we got another question from Angel Clark. Can you explain the burn down chart? Great question. And I wish I had my Agile practice guide here. I do not, but I'll give you a breakdown of what the burn down chart is. So let me draw an image for you. I'm sure I could find one in Excel, but I'll probably do that another day. For now, I will go to Jimmy, Mr. Jimmy. I'll go to Jimmy's site, Mr. Jimmy Wales of Wikipedia. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick visual from Wikipedia's page for the burn down. Let's take a look at that. Here's the burn down chart. You can see that on the x-axis, you've got the timeline, the passage of time. And on the y-axis, it says sum of task estimates in days. But this could actually be in hours. It could be anything. Let me mark this up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So right here, we have the task estimates in days, but that could be in hours. That could be several thousands of hours. And this right here is the timeline in days, okay? So you could have a timeline in days, but you could also have hours on this side, on the y-axis. So the summary is, as you progress through time, you're going to have a red line like this, you can see going through, which shows you how many tasks are remaining. But you could also do this by hours to show you as you pass through time, you got less and less hours. So the hours are burning down like that. You're going in that direction and you're going in that direction on the y-axis. So as you keep going down on the y-axis and you keep going from left to right on the x-axis, the work is getting less and less. And at any point in time, this can show you where you are in terms of what you plan to get done and how much you actually have left to do. So it's a very valuable tool in showing you status in terms of hours, in terms of days, and what have you. All right, let's read a little bit of the text here for clarification purposes. Going down here, it says, a burn down chart is a graphical representation of work left to do versus time. The outstanding work or backlog is often on the vertical axis, that's the y-axis, with time along the horizontal. It is a run chart of outstanding work. It is useful for predicting when all the work will be completed. It is often used in agile software development methodologies such as Scrum. However, burn down charts can be applied to any project containing measurable progress over time. So the key thing to do is to add up all of your hours, all of your tasks, the working days, understand what the full duration of the project is, and plot how you would like it to look. Let me change this here to a whiteboard. So let's go to the whiteboard here. I hope by now it's already making some sense to you. Because if you haven't like previously encountered it, it could appear a little bit strange at first. But I'm hoping that after this, it'll make more sense. So the bottom line is you got the y-axis. Of course, this is the total number of hours for the project. You're going to get to a point with the total number of hours, and you're going to plan how those will look as they're being burnt down over time. See that? And then you plan when it will be zero, let's say at point X in time, okay? So that's your plan. But then when the project starts, you could have a scenario like this, where in the passage of time, you're not really burning as much as you should. And this shows you that you've got a massive variance. You see, you got this massive variance here and at different points in time, you see. And if things continue in this way, it shows you what the end might be. It shows you that instead of ending at point X, you might have a disaster and end at point Z, you know, thereby burning up a lot more time than you thought you would. So it's a good way of keeping track. And I think any project could use this, any project where they're able to sensibly estimate how many hours for the total thing and what is left, you know, over time. Bear in mind that this doesn't always have to be hours. It could be number of tasks. It could be days. It could be weeks. It could be various things. All right, so Angel Clark, I hope this helps you. And it's good to see you again. I know that you are on the channel, so thank you very much for your support. And thank you for asking this great question. All right, are there any other questions or concerns before we end the meeting? Any other contributions? Okay. Very good comment. So Angel says, so it's used to measure the schedule, not just the schedule, Angel. It can be used to predict the schedule, but it shows the rate of burn, how quickly you are accomplishing the work that you thought you would. Ideally, it should be a one-to-one, but if it ends up being more, or less than that, then obviously there's trouble. If you're getting less done than planned, then there's trouble. It is a tool of control schedule. Let me actually check my PMBOK guide. Not 100% sure. Oh, burn down charts. I think you are right. This should be on grouped tools and techniques, if you are correct, I think. I don't see it in on group tools and techniques. So let me go on to 6.6. You see, I always got my PMBOK guide on my trusty iPad. You got to go around with your PMBOK guide. You never know when someone's going to have a question. Iteration burn down chart. Oh, thank you very much for letting me know. I would have just read that. It shows you your buddy Phil doesn't know everything. Oh, it's even there in the PMBOK guide. Ridiculous. There's even an image of it. It's amazing how much you study stuff and you don't even know it's there sometimes. Well, I'm glad you know. Otherwise, we would have been in trouble with your PMP coming up. So yes, this is on page, for those of you who are watching, it's on page 226. Yeah, I was totally oblivious to that. I should know that. So it says iteration burn down chart. This chart tracks the work that remains to be completed in the iteration backlog. That's it. So it's work to be completed in the backlog, but at the same time, it does tell you where your schedule is headed. So it says a forecast trend line, precisely. So if we take a look at that image that I was just doodling with a few seconds ago, yeah, this one. If you take a look at that, you can actually draw a trend line of sorts through it. Of course, there are methods and ways to do this properly, but just in a scrappy fashion, I'll tell you that you could make a trend line out and predict what would happen. And that's pretty much what the PMI is doing here in their iteration burn down chart on page 226. It says a forecast trend line can be used to predict the likely variance at iteration completion and take appropriate action. So yeah, this would be the variance. You see, like right here, let's say this is a measurement A days, whatever that is, that will show you the difference in a time period. See that? It says a diagonal line represents the ideal burn down and daily actual remaining work is then plotted. But you kind of get, the gist of what I'm saying. So I hope that answers your question. Indeed, yes, a tool and technique of control schedule under data analysis. And I think this goes back to underscore the point, as you're getting ready for the PMP exam, you really got to know those tools. Like we had data analysis, and it's easy to blow past it. But there it was lurking in the background. See? So, Angel, very good question. And thank you for calling that to my attention. It's amazing that I must have taught that a number of times, but obviously not thinking about it right this moment. So that is a good example of how you could read the PMBOK guide, but just miss the detail sometimes. All right. Are there any further questions for me? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right, if there ain't no questions, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me today. I always appreciate you asking these great questions that help expand people's minds. Shri, thank you. Shri says it is used in adaptive or agile development. Yep, that is absolutely correct. In fact, that's where I remember it from. It's funny. I actually remember this from my training to be a Scrum Master. That is where I remember this from the most. So my knowledge on this is not from studying for the PMP, obviously, because when I studied for the PMP, there was no blend of agile concepts. But now they are beginning to do that, so it's good. Shri says burn down charts are part of, yes, absolutely, are part of WPR. That is absolutely correct. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you folks. Stay tuned to the channel because as usual, I will have new content, new videos, tips and tricks, and so on. And I will continue to run some of those 12-hour marathon inspirational video series. In fact, at the moment, there is one I will play, PM Talking Jazz. I don't know if you listened to that, but it is going through all of the glossary bit by bit, you know, in little chunks across sections of the alphabet. So I hope that helps you, and I look forward to speaking to you guys again soon. Thank you all very much. And those new folks who joined the Savage on Saturday, thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned to the channel. Again, there will be more stuff coming up soon. All right. Take care. And I'll see you again, hopefully very, very soon. Bye for now.